sound to work. Today I want to do a quick video on spotting scopes. And yes, Sam is the spotter in our family, in our little team. And in the way of, she has done and will do again videos about actually spotting, but largely my main job when it comes to spotting is selecting the equipment, is make sure it works, setting it up, that sort of things. And I'm nowhere near as good as Sam is at doing the spotting job. All sorts of reasons for that, but this is about the equipment, about what you might want to purchase, about what suits you, and it is very much from our perspective, the stuff we've used. We are not a wealthy organisation which has tried all the spotting scopes by any means, so this is just a general view and much more from our and from my perspective. Okay, so in front of us are the three scopes that we use, or two that we use. One that is just a new one of a scope that we use a lot of as well. It's actually the spare one out of the cupboard rather than the one we always use. But let's want to go through it. The scope that you've seen in the longer shots and that we use for the majority of the channel has been this one here, which is the Nightforce TS-82. It's an 82mm lens. It has a range of 20 to 70 power. Really good scope. It basically is a focus ring in the center here, the power ring up the top, very good glass, and of I don't know if you call tier 1 or what it is, but it's a top level spotting scope. Really good in the way of how it works, good for the ELR stuff we do. And I suppose I'd say there is the big eyes scopes and the very big expensive scopes and the binocular scopes, that sort of stuff. And I've no doubt that you can get better glass and get better higher detail, but in the ELR range, I suppose if you're looking at the moon, if you're looking at into the stars, you're looking out through less and less air, then you need more power for more distance. But just like with rifle scopes, when you're looking across our planet, so through the densest of the air, then there's only so far you can see where you can't see more detail than what you can see through the air. There's no such thing as a scope that cuts through mirage. There are scopes that give more definition and there's scopes that give finer detail. But if the air is messing up the image, the image is messed up. And more power doesn't fix that situation. Better coatings and things like that can give you better detail, can get rid of haze and all that sort of stuff. And certainly in this sort of scope, you're into that range. At the top of that level, I don't know. It's not something I've found better than, but I'm certain there are. I'm certain you can spend $15,000 and $20,000 on a scope and get better lenses. But still, this in a more premium level of scope does it and does it very well. Right alongside it is the TRACT scope, which we've used for the last couple of years. And the TRACT scope, very, very similar in the way of quality of glass, quality of the image, that sort of stuff, very similar. Up there in a very, very good scope. This has a little less in the this is an 80mm rather than 82mm, really nothing in that. Its power side of things is 27 to 55. So it doesn't quite have the range of the Nightforce scope, but still for how we use it works really completely comparable. No difference really discernible when we're shooting our ELR stuff. They both work in exactly the same vein. So a little better budget on the budget side of things, very good glass, really good scope, and we use that one a lot nowadays too. We got this one because it also has another reticle, another eyepiece with a reticle in it. Not something we really use, something we're sort of getting used to, more for your what I would call mid-range. Other people maybe the 300 yards to sort of 1,000 yards is long range for most people, and in that where the spotter wants to call the exactly the same as the rifle sees in a reticle call, so be that MOA or be that MIL, then MRAD, then that would suit those sort of people. So, and for us ELR, really anywhere on the screen in the view to have stuff written potentially is hiding the impact for us. So we would like a clear image, and we call things differently. We call target size or have references to the image out there. So for us, that's the way we do things, but that may be a deciding factor in what you want as well. But these two scopes, very, very similar, and I'm sure there's another large range of scopes that would fit into that sort of bracket. Certainly the Nightforce is the one that we used at 5Ks, and it worked really well out there, and we use it all the time, and at the 1,000, that sort of stuff works really nicely. So both those great scopes, both cost a reasonable amount, but both and there's a little bit more budget with the TRACT, like I said, but really good on that sort of level. But the video is a little bit more about this one here. Now this is the Yukon. It's a 5 to 100 by 100. It's a little bit more complicated than that. In actual fact, this is the scope that we started. Our first 2-mile effort was done with this scope, or its brother. There's 2 of them that we actually have. One's just older. It came silver and I painted it green so it didn't stand out like, like a sore thumb. This is the spare, because it's a good scope, and the way I run equipment, I tend to, if it works well and I can afford it, I'll put another one in the cupboard so that then that one has a problem, we don't have to wait for however long it takes to get us a new one. So this is exactly this one here. It's the one that came out of the cupboard. It's the spare. Exactly the same scope, checked it out, but I thought I'd show you in a more new form. Now listen, the trick with this scope is it isn't the same quality. In that same, 4 to 3 and 3 to 2, this is in the 600 to 500 sort of range. So it's a lot cheaper scope. And it is without question cheaper quality. It's a lighter body, it's larger, its coatings aren't probably quite as good, its image isn't quite as good. Up to 100 power, it really doesn't have the lens quality, the glass quality to go to 100 power really, really well. It's really more comfortable in the 50 to 70 sort of power. And it's still then not the quality of these scopes, I'm not trying to say that, but it's okay. And it's certainly functional. It was still able to see a hit on steel at 2 miles. So still capable in that sort of level. Will it see the finer details? No. In saying that, once you've got scruffy air, that sort of stuff, you've got a bit of mirage, that type of thing, then there's not much in it. Certainly in going to the range, you want to see the finer details. It doesn't quite have that, but wanting to be able to function with it, this is up to the level where it can function with it. But the real reason and the real thing that we got this, and we still use this scope every week, at least twice a week, every week we use this scope. Not a lot of it's on camera. In the ELR stuff, we're definitely using this, but you'll sometimes see this, and that's because right up to 600, 700 yards, even 1,000 yards, this has an advantage that these ones don't. And it's the opposite from more detail. It's more field of view. So when you want to shoot at something at 150 yards where we use this all the time, then being able to see, we do our little Coke can thing, 150 yards, the 22s. And we want to see that clearly, but we want to have a little bit of a field of view around it. These fellas here, they don't, at the lowest they go being 27 and 20 power, you're zoomed right in. 20 power is still a lot of magnification, that sort of level. This having 5 power lets you actually view that at about the size you want to. So really good for that sort of stuff. Really good even for when I'm fishing around with a lever action and trying to see things. There's sometimes where you can't use these because I'm not close enough in the wind and the lever action. I don't know where it is and it's going to go off to the side. We don't know what's going on and you've got to try and find that. If you try and use even at 1,000 yards, the bigger scopes can struggle at that sort of level. Certainly when you're, like I said, there's a little less accuracy in what you're dealing with, you're fishing around, you're playing, that sort of stuff, or you come in really close in the 22, then you've got to be right on target to use these at the closer range because you've only got a very small field of view. This has the advantage of, as you can see in the front there, there's actually 2 scopes. There's this scope, which is the large, the 100mm lens, then you click this over here and it goes to this scope. Right back down in a 25mm lens, 5 to 25 by 25, and then 25 to 100 by 100. That's this scope. So in that sort of level, and that little 25, that does a really good job, giving you that 5 power, so very much like your ELR scope, 5 to 25 power. It gives you a really nice range of being seeing that. No, it's not the same quality, but it's still decent quality. And certainly as what we found, I'd call it a starter in ELR scope because it was. Prior to the ELR stuff or getting to that place, there were half a dozen different scopes. I went from cheaper ones to more expensive one this, trying to get something that worked. In actual fact, the quality of this, it's just a plastic body, so there's sort of a cheapness feel about it, but it worked really well. It's still functioning really nicely. The one that we purchased something like 15 years ago is still in the kit. This one hasn't got out apart from where I'm showing you here. So it still works really well. It's traveled around the place, it's done all those bits and pieces, and it really does give us this that 5 to 25 really does let you search with a 5 power, which is decent increase in power for, like I said, the closest R22, offhand plinking, that type of thing. It still gives you a bit of power, but a good field of view. And once you're zoned in, you've got it all good, or you're shooting something different, you can switch back over to the 25 to 100 power and then zoom up as much as you like. Like I said, it's probably not up to it in the level of the glass quality to really go with 100 power and get good quality. It's really stops around somewhere between the 50 and 70 depending on the day, but still decent. Certainly for us, one of the higher level and this one is the way we do it. And if you're starting out and you're working with a littler budget, then maybe the likes of the Yukon. A little bit harder to find nowadays because I think they're Russian, or they've got Russian connections type of thing. So with the politics that goes with the situation at the moment, hopefully that's all settling down shortly. But they still are there. I had to check around the place. You can still find them, and it's certainly been a valuable member of our team. So it's something that I just wanted to pass on to you guys. Anyway, that's I'm sure that there's lots of other choices here. I'm not trying to say these are the only ones to go with. Certainly in the top tier stuff, there's certainly above and around this neck of the woods in lots of different brand names. So put all what you use, what you found, and that sort of stuff below. In the bottom of it, and I shouldn't say bottom, but down to what we're talking about in this sort of level of scope, I haven't found anything that does this flexible range. Ultimately, going from 5 to 100 power in an okay level of glass quality in a functional unit like this, I haven't seen anything like it, all the things I've tried. But if you know something, put it down there as well. This is actually trying to help everyone out. And I suppose for the guys that want to save you the budget side of thing, that's also a good option in that sort of level. Anyway guys, thank you very much for checking in. I hope you liked the video. We'll catch you next time.